Well, welcome to another edition of Willow World. I'm here with Kevin Danehy in Sydney, Australia. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Josh. Brookfield and I both thank you and the Willow team for inviting us here for this talk today.
Thank you for joining us. Perhaps you could talk to us about your journey, Kevin, Brookfield, and your role at Brookfield.
Well, let me just quickly, Josh. I lead a corporate development function, so I'm global head of corporate development for Brookfield. And one of the things I'm charged with is identifying new ways of doing business in different places around the world and helping us to move those new business practices, whether it's something like flexible workspace or technology platforms, to other markets where we think they can increase the value of our assets as well as improve our relationship with our customers.
Wonderful. And recently you ran a tenant summit, and I think it was quite progressive of Brookfield to bring your customer effectively into the room. And we were privileged to be there. And I think what you're looking to do at Brookfield is very progressive in the sense of using technology to connect to your customers in a more holistic manner. Perhaps you could talk about the challenges you faced and how you're addressing that with technology.
Sure. So, just taking a step back, we've diversified our global portfolio of real estate into multiple property types over the last 15 years. So we have office buildings, we have retail, high-rise residential, hotels, and even industrial. And what we found is that combining those different property types in global gateway cities creates energy and activation that draws people to them.
Right.
And so that's been more of an operational approach as we've introduced new features like flexible workspace.
Yep.
And we've invested in companies like Convene and Industrious and operated some of our own facilities. We've also begun to identify technology platforms that can help enhance our ability to manage the assets and operate the properties, as well as to connect directly with the people in our buildings.
Right, right.
And so historically, real estate owners had a direct relationship with a couple of senior people at a tenant. And now with these new tools that we're discovering and we're working on, Willow is certainly one of them that we're in the, we're piloting in one of our big projects in New York at 1 Manhattan West, is creating a direct relationship with all of the people that work for these companies, these big tenants, and having an opportunity to improve the experience of the time that they spent in our properties.
Yeah, no, it's really great to be working with an owner such as Brookfield with such a large footprint of assets. Perhaps you could talk a little bit about the way in which you've approached technology and the other the other owners that you've worked with in partnership to choose the right platforms.
So, first and foremost, there's hundreds of thousands of new ways of using technology that are popping up in that exist in the marketplace today and that are popping up all the time. So first and foremost, the people who are responsible for operating our real estate and for maintaining the value and increasing the value of it, so the building manager, our asset managers, our leasing people, have to feel comfortable that the technology is something that improves their ability to be productive on a day-to-day basis.
So not just technology for technology's sake.
Correct. Yeah. Correct. It's really got to decrease costs, significantly improve productivity, or ideally add value to the real estate.
Yeah.
And so as we've identified some of these companies, again, Willow being one of them, but other companies that we've both adopted and have invested in are a company called VTS for leasing, a company called Was Honest Buildings and now Procore for managing capital projects and development.
Yes.
And now what we've seen with Willow, and we're working with Willow and some other owner operators, is creating a digital twin so that we can capture all of the information that's created about an asset, but then use that to also tie in some of these other platforms that are beginning to emerge in the marketplace.
Wonderful. And you mentioned 1 Manhattan West. It's an enormous project. It's a project that will redefine the skyline and that midtown area of New York. Maybe a little bit about why you just selected Willow and what problem do you hope that we solve on 1 Manhattan West?
So, great question, Josh. A couple of the big challenges we've had in the industry over time is, number one, after the completion of the development of the project through the design and construction phase, the turnover of all that information, those lessons learned, to the ongoing operations and asset management people is complicated, particularly in today's world where every year there's more and more information created that's digital in nature. And so what we're doing, number one, is using the Willow relationship to help capture
bring it all
together. But then our big litmus test is making sure that once we've completed the digital twin, that our operations people and the building manager will be able to then use that as a tool to, on a day-to-day basis, do a better job of maintaining and ideally improving the value of our assets. And frankly, I think over time, improving the way that we can serve the needs of our tenants.
Yes, and we're seeing this all over the world where owners have enormous projects like One Manhattan West, 2.1 million square feet in that instance. How do you collect all that data? But importantly, how can we make it usable? So it's not just being stored, but it's being actively used by the property manager, the asset manager.
Correct.
And actually the tenant, going back to that tenant example. So that's what excites us about partnering with you.
And it's the people whose day job is to make sure that we do an excellent job of owning and operating real estate, and that we do it on behalf of our customers, the tenants in those buildings. And it's not just office buildings. We're looking at these kinds of improvements, across the whole portfolio of asset types.
So infrastructure and other asset classes as well.
Even beyond real estate, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, we get asked this a lot, Kevin, should we lead as an owner or should we follow? It's a big question for owners because there's a torrent of technology coming to the industry. But I get asked a lot by some of your peers, Josh, it's a great idea, this digital twin, but should we be following Brookfield or should we come alongside Brookfield and participate in these early adoption?
So Brookfield, we choose to lead, but we also are very deliberate and are thoughtful about how we do so. And so we have, particularly over the last 3 or 4 years, gone to great efforts to find other, what we believe is like-minded owner-operators, where we will continue to compete fiercely for assets, for talent, for capital, but where we have new ways emerging to do business, like flexible workspace, but also with technology. We'd rather do that alongside other like-minded peers so that we can learn together, as well as create enough critical mass with these organizations that we can help them grow into a global organization themselves.
Thanks for joining us today, Kevin.
Josh, thank you for having me and Brookfield here.
It's a true pleasure. Stay tuned for the next round of Willow World. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.